Hello friends, today we will have a discussion on the fundamental right given in the Indian Constitution. Normally speaking, this chapter is one of the core interest area for all UPSC aspirant because it initially tells the right which is available to the common man in general. So, these many days we were not aware of the right which has been guaranteed in the Constitution of India, and now stepping into the UPSC preparation has enlightened us that there is some amount of right given to the citizen. Originally speaking, the fundamental right are being guaranteed to every person irrespective of the religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth and descent. This indicates that the person who is having the amount of fundamental right shall enjoy it irrespective of the background. So, social, economic background are immaterial for the enjoyment of fundamental right. So, the original fundamental rights were totally 7 in number. So, the first thing will be right to equality, then number 2 we are having right to freedom, number 3 right against exploitation, number 4 freedom of religion, number 5 cultural and educational right, number 6 the right to property, and number 7 right to constitutional remedy. So, in total we had 7 fundamental rights. After the 44th Amendment Act of 1978, the right to property was deleted and it is now no more a fundamental right, it is now a constitutional right. So, after deleting the right to property, now we have totally 6 fundamental rights in the constitution. So, in the Indian Constitution, you have certain terms like part, schedule and article. So, part denotes grouping of articles which are similar in nature. For instance, you have part 1 to part 25 in Indian Constitution. In part 3, we will deal from article 12 to article 35. This indicates that article 12 to 35 is being commonly grouped under part 3 of the Constitution, and that is having the relevance for fundamental right. So, now we are very clear that part is grouping of article, 12 to 35 is dealing with the fundamental right, therefore, part 3 will speak about the fundamental right. The next area is with respect to each article under the fundamental right. So, starting from 12 to 35, each article has a defined set of role and activities. For instance, 12 will speak about the definition of the term called as state. Article 13 will say that any law which is inconsistent with the fundamental right is regarded as null and void. Article 14 will speak about right to equality. Article 15 says that there shall be no discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex and place of birth. Article 16 ensures the right to public employment. Article 17 deals with the abolition of untouchability. Article 18 will give you abolition of title. Article 19 will speak about right to freedom. So, you have the freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of residence, freedom of profession. Then article 20, it will speak about the protection against conviction of offences. So, what do you mean by double jeopardy? What do you mean by no ex post facto law? And what do you mean by no self incrimination? These three will be covered in article 20. Article 21, one of the important fundamental right, will deal with right to life and personal liberty. So, everything should happen in our country based on the law. Without the application of law, if any of the rights are being violated, then definitely by way of article 21, we can approach the Supreme Court of India using article 32 and High Court of every state using article 226 to file a case. Then you have the article 21A, which will speak with respect to right to education. It was recently added by way of the 86th Amendment Act of 2002. Right to education hereafter is one of the fundamental right for 6 to 14 years of children. Then 22 will speak about, so protection is being given arrest against the arrest and detention, in which one cannot be arrested on haphazard manner. So, within 24 hours of arrest, we have to produce to the nearest judicial magistrate. We have to ensure that the person is being given opportunity to speak to the family member. All these rules are being codified under the article 22. 22 even also deals with the preventive retention. So, 22 subclause 3, 22 subclause 4 will deal with the preventive retention. Article 23 will deal against the human trafficking. So, human trafficking, beggar system, prostitution, abolition of prostitution, these will come under Article 23. 24 will deal with the abolition of child labor. 25 will deal with respect to the freedom of religion. So, conscience, profess, practice, propagate one's own religion. Article 26 will deal with the freedom of religious affair. So, one is having the right to buy movable and immovable property in the name of religion. Article 27 ensures that the state shall not make any amount of taxation for the promotion of a religion. Article 28 says that there is no need to have the religious instruction attendance if made in the government institutions. Then Article 29 will speak about the cultural right of the minority, and even recently Supreme Court said the cultural right is not only there for minority but for all sections of people. Article 30 will give the right to minorities to establish educational institution, and 31 is no more a fundamental right, is a constitutional right, it deals with the right to property. And 32 is being regarded by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar as heart and soul of the constitution. It deals with right to constitutional remedy. And 33 declares that in case of the armed forces, there is uniformed service, the fundamental right are not applicable to them. So, certain fundamental rights are being restricted to ensure the discipline of the force. Article 34 says wherever the martial law has been imposed, their fundamental right will not be applicable. Article 35 says any change in the fundamental right can be made only by the Parliament of India and not by the state legislature. Therefore, we now had a brief summary from Article 12 to Article 35. We have seen each article in a eagle views angle so that we got some input with respect to the fundamental right. And now coming on to the next area, why this right is very important. Generally, fundamental rights are given the status of justiciable right. The word justiciable denotes whenever there is some amount of violation. When the state is violating the fundamental right guaranteed to the citizens of the country, at that point of time we have the right to approach Supreme Court or the High Court directly. So, Supreme Court and High Court will entertain the petition, that is the writ petition relating to the violation of fundamental right. You need not travel from the subordinate judiciary to High Court. Directly in Supreme Court and High Court, one is having the right to file the case. And number two, the fundamental rights are not absolute right. That means you have some amount of reasonable restriction which the state can impose to ensure the morality, decency, public order, health, etc. For example, Article 19 speaks about freedom of speech. But if your speech is creating some amount of commotion, some amount of trouble, some disharmony is happening, at that point of time the government is having the right to impose reasonable restriction. So, every right per se is based on this element. Rights are given so that it should be enjoyed within the limit. If the limits are being bypassed or when they go for the infringement, violation, then definitely the government is having the right to restrict. At last, the fundamental rights per se which is being given to the citizens is unfound anywhere. So, India is a country which has given so much of fundamental right for the common man. And here a point to ponder is that Article 15, Article 16, Article 19, Article 29 and Article 30. These 5 rights are applicable only to the citizens of India. Remaining rights can be enjoyed even by the non-citizens. Remaining content and what are the case law, what is Kesavananda Bharati case law, what are the different judgment given by the Supreme Court and the ingredient of fundamental right for the examination we will deal in the class. Thank you.